At a hospital in the Deep South, where strict abortion bans have just been in force, a young black male doctor, often looked down on for her poor background, risks everything to save a pregnant stranger in critical condition, but her actions get her arrested, facing harsh public backlash. Just when her career seems over, the truth comes out: the woman she saved is the mayor's wife. What happens next will shake the entire town to its core. Before we dive in this story, let us know where you're watching from. We love to hear your thought. The morning sun barely cut through the thick gray clouds hovering over St. Andrew's Medical Center, a towering concrete block sitting along the main street of a small southern city. Outside its tall iron gates, a sea of handmade signs bobbed up and down like restless waves. Abortion is murder. Protect the unborn. Shame on you. The chants rang through the air, harsh and angry, blending with the blaring horns of passing cars. The crowd wasn't huge, maybe 30 people, but their voices filled the street like a storm building on the horizon. Inside the hospital, though, it was strangely quiet. Too quiet. The fluorescent lights hummed faintly above the sterile white hallways. Nurses in pale blue scrubs wheeled carts. Doctors in crisp white coats passed by, faces unreadable, eyes glued to their charts. But under the surface, tension simmered like an unspoken rule everyone obeyed. You could feel it, you could smell it. The kind of silence that didn't come from peace, but from fear. And in the middle of all that quiet pressure walked Dr. Maya Johnson, her sneakers squeaking softly against the polished floor tiles. At 29, Maya looked young for her title. A petite black woman with deep brown skin, almond-shaped eyes, and natural curls pulled into a neat professional bun. Her lab coat, clean and pressed, hung slightly oversized on her slender frame, the MD stitched proudly above her heart. But the pride? That was hidden behind tired eyes and a clenched jaw. People noticed her. They always did. But not for the reasons she wanted. Whispers followed her like shadows down the hallway. "Scholarship hire," someone muttered near the nurse's station. "Social quota?" another voice sneered, low enough to pretend it was private, but loud enough to sting. She heard it all. She always did. A senior doctor, tall, white, middle-aged, passed by without so much as a glance. A group of young interns chuckled near the vending machine, their eyes darting toward her, then away, as if she was a walking controversy, not because of anything she'd done, but because of where she came from. A scholarship kid. The product of affirmative action. A black woman in a place people still liked to pretend was colorblind, as long as you didn't challenge the system. Maya kept walking, her expression calm, professional, practiced, but inside, every word, every look, it carved itself deeper under her skin. Still, this wasn't new. Growing up in a cramped apartment with her mom, losing her dad young, none of that broke her. Neither would this. She paused at the glass window of the staff lounge, eyes drifting to the protesters outside. Their signs waved wildly as cars honked by, their chants carried even through the thick hospital walls. But what caught her attention most wasn't the noise, it was the fear. Fear that no matter what degree she earned or how many lives she saved, this place, these people, they'd never really see her for what she was. A doctor, a woman trying to do her job, someone who gave a damn. Maya exhaled slowly, squared her shoulders, and kept moving. Because if there was one thing they couldn't take from her, it was the mission she came here for. And that mission was just getting started. The day dragged on inside St. Andrew's, the clock ticking in that strange, sluggish way hospitals always seemed to distort time. Patients came and went, clipboards shuffled, monitors beeped in steady rhythm, and under it all, that same low hum of unease pulsed through the walls. But for Dr. Maya Johnson, this moment wasn't just another shift. It was the moment everything cracked wide open. The automatic doors at the emergency entrance hissed as they slid apart, letting in a sharp gust of humid summer air. A woman stood there, hunched slightly, one hand bracing her lower abdomen, the other gripping her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. She looked alone, no partner, no family trailing behind, just her, and the fear clinging to her face like sweat. "Someone get a wheelchair," Maya called, already striding toward her, her heart sinking as she took in the woman's pale complexion, glassy eyes, and uneven breaths. The woman looked up, her lips trembling. I think something's wrong." Maya offered a reassuring nod, her voice steady but gentle. "We'll take care of you, I promise. How far along are you?" 33 weeks, the woman whispered, wincing as another wave of pain gripped her. Lisa, already at Maya's side, appeared with a wheelchair. "Come on, sweetheart, let's get you inside." Her tone was warm but efficient, the practiced ease of someone who'd seen it all and still cared. Maya and Lisa exchanged a glance as they rolled the woman toward triage. There was something off. The woman's skin was cold, clammy, her pulse racing beneath thin wrists, and her swollen belly didn't rise and fall evenly. The faintest sheen of sweat beaded across her forehead, despite the hospital's chilly AC. Inside the exam room, the monitors hummed to life as Lisa prepped the woman. Maya's eyes flicked over the vitals, reading them twice. Blood pressure, dangerously high, heart rate, erratic, and the fetal monitor? Sharp decelerations that made Maya's stomach knot. Possible placental abruption? Maya muttered under her breath, scanning the ultrasound as dark shadows flickered across the screen. Lisa's expression darkened. "Shit, we need to get her up to OB, now." Maya's hands moved fast but steady, adjusting the IV, scribbling orders. Her brain ran through the checklist: hemorrhage risk, fetal distress, maternal hypertension. All signs pointed to emergency intervention. The door creaked open and a nurse peeked in, brows raised. "You sure this is necessary? She looks fine to me. I mean, she walked in here on her own." Maya's jaw tightened, but she kept her tone level. "That's why we check vitals and do scans. She's not fine, she's critical." The nurse hesitated, her gaze dropping briefly to Maya's dark skin, then flicking to Lisa, as if silently questioning Maya's authority. It wasn't the first time, it wouldn't be the last. But Maya didn't have time for passive-aggressive doubts. "Page O," Maya ordered. "We're moving her to surgery." The nurse left without another word, her footsteps heavy with quiet disapproval. Lisa shot Maya a look, supportive but cautious. "You know they're going to push back on this, right?" Maya exhaled, adjusting her stethoscope. "They always do." Minutes later, they were wheeling the woman down the hallway, the gurney gliding across the slick floor. Maya walked beside her, explaining in calm, clipped tones what was happening. "You and your baby are in danger," Maya said gently. "We believe the placenta's separating from the uterus. It's serious, but we're going to take care of you." The woman's eyes brimmed with tears. Is the baby okay?" "We're going to do everything we can," Maya reassured her, masking the gnawing anxiety curling in her own chest. Time was bleeding away. Hesitation could cost 2 lives. As they neared the elevator, a tall figure stepped into their path like a wall. Dr. Andrew Miller, sleeves rolled neatly, badge clipped perfectly, jaw clenched with quiet authority. His eyes skimmed over the scene. The woman on the gurney, Lisa's tense expression, Maya's determined stance. But his gaze settled on Maya, cool, clinical, calculating. "What's going on here?" His voice carried the weight of his title, the unspoken confidence of someone who believed the building bent around him. "Emergency C-section," Maya replied without flinching. "Possible abruption, fetal distress, severe maternal hypertension." Andrew's brow arched, skeptical. His eyes flicked to the woman, her face pale but alert, breathing labored but conscious. "She looks stable to me. What makes you so sure this isn't another misjudgment?" His tone dipped on that last word, laced with implication. Maya stiffened, heat creeping up her neck, but her voice stayed even. "The vitals are clear. The scans are clear. We don't have time to debate this." Andrew folded his arms, blocking the path. "You know the law, Maya, no gray areas. We don't get to hide behind medical judgment if this turns into—" Lisa stepped in, her voice sharp. "It's not about politics, Andrew. It's about saving lives." Andrew's eyes narrowed, lips pressing into a thin line. "Then let the attending decide." "I am the attending," Maya shot back, her heartbeat pounding in her ears, not just from anger but from the familiar weight of being questioned, doubted, dismissed. Not because of inexperience, but because of who she was. because no matter the degrees on her wall or the patients she'd saved, in his eyes she was still the outsider. The black woman who got here through programs, not merit. Lisa's hand hovered protectively near the gurney, her stance tense but ready. The woman on the stretcher whimpered softly, her hand drifting to her belly. Time was slipping through their fingers like sand. Maya's voice dropped, quiet but firm. "Step aside, Dr. Miller." His eyes held hers, daring her to fold under pressure. But Maya didn't move, didn't blink. The tension coiled tight, the hallway silent except for the faint hum of machines and the far-off echo of protest chants outside. For a moment, it felt like the entire hospital, the judgmental nurses, the stone-faced doctors, the watching eyes, all froze, waiting to see if she'd back down. Maya didn't. Because she couldn't. Not when 2 lives depended on her. Andrew exhaled sharply through his nose, jaw flexing as he stepped aside, but his glare lingered, heavy with unspoken threats. Lisa gave Maya a small nod, pushing the gurney forward. "Let's go." As the elevator doors slid open, Maya caught her reflection in the shiny metal. Calm, collected, but beneath it, the fire in her eyes burned hotter than ever, and as the doors closed behind them, sealing them off from the doubters, Maya knew this wasn't just about medicine anymore. It was about proving she belonged here, and that no one, not even Andrew Miller, was going to stop her from doing her damn job. The elevator doors slid open with a soft ding, revealing the sterile, too-bright hallway of the surgical floor. The hum of fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead, monitors beeped steadily in the distance, and the polished floor gleamed so clean it almost hurt the eyes. But beneath all that polished surface was the same thing lurking everywhere in this hospital. Doubt. Fear. And now? All eyes locked onto them as Lisa and Maya wheeled the pregnant woman toward the operating room. Maya could feel it before she even saw it, the whispers tightening behind them like a noose. Nurses paused mid-conversation, glancing sideways as they passed. A young intern pressed himself flat against the wall to avoid eye contact. 2 orderlies exchanged looks as they disappeared into a supply closet. No one said it out loud. They never did. But their silence spoke volumes. The pregnant woman on the gurney let out a shaky breath, her knuckles pale as she clutched the side rails. "Why is everyone staring?" Her voice cracked with fear, eyes darting from one disapproving face to another. Maya leaned down slightly, her voice low but steady. "Ignore them. You and your baby are all that matters right now." It was the same tone she'd practiced for years, the calm above the storm. But inside, her heart pounded hard enough to bruise ribs. Lisa pushed open the OR doors, her expression unreadable except for the tight line of her jaw. Maya's palms tingled with adrenaline as they maneuvered the gurney inside. The surgical lights glared down from above, cold and clinical. The walls were lined with neatly arranged instruments, IV poles, sterile packs, but everything about the room felt heavy, loaded, like even the walls were holding their breath. As Maya and Lisa began prepping the patient, the tension outside the OR rippled through the intercom. Muffled footsteps, voices just beyond the door. Maya didn't have to guess who it was. She could feel Andrew Miller's stubborn shadow trailing them like a bad omen. Lisa leaned in, voice low. "We're good. I double-checked the fetal monitor. It's real, Maya. You were right." Maya's throat tightened, not with relief, but with frustration. She didn't need validation, she needed people to stop second-guessing her just because of the color of her skin. But now wasn't the time for that fight. This was life or death. "Scalpel," Maya called calmly, slipping into the rhythm of muscle memory. Her gloved hands hovered steady over the woman's swollen belly, as the anesthesiologist confirmed sedation. The faint, erratic beep of the fetal monitor in the corner still stabbed at her nerves. They were running out of time. The woman whimpered faintly, her eyelids fluttering. Is my baby okay?" Maya glanced at Lisa, then back to the woman, her voice unwavering. "We're going to make sure you both walk out of here, I promise." It wasn't just comfort. It was a vow. and Maya didn't break those. The first incision was clean, precise. The operating room buzzed with quiet focus as Maya and Lisa worked quickly. Blood pressure stabilized, the fetal monitor still wavered, but hope glinted in the numbers. And then, a loud, angry knock rattled the OR door. Maya's shoulders tensed, her hand freezing mid-movement. Lisa swore under her breath. "You've got to be kidding me." The door cracked open an inch, and the tense, sharp voice of Andrew Miller sliced through like a scalpel. "Stop this, right now!" Maya didn't even turn. Her eyes stayed locked on the patient, her hands steady. "Close that door, Lisa." "Maya, I swear you're going to close—" "I said, close." "The damn door—" Lisa slammed the door shut so hard the metal handle rattled. The anesthesiologist looked between them, wide-eyed, but wisely kept silent. The monitors beeped, the surgical lights hummed, and Maya moved. Minutes passed like hours, but finally the room erupted with the small, gasping cry of a newborn. The tension cracked like a dam bursting as Maya lifted the tiny, fragile life into view. Lisa's face broke into a grin beneath her mask. "Heartbeat strong. She's okay." Maya exhaled, a mix of exhaustion and raw relief washing through her. But the moment of victory was short-lived. The door flung open again, this time with two uniformed police officers stepping inside, their expressions unreadable but their presence loud and clear. Behind them, Andrew lingered, arms crossed, face tight with quiet triumph. "You're under investigation for violating state medical protocol," one of the officers announced. "Step away from the patient." Maya blinked, her hand still stained with the miracle of new life, her breath catching in her throat. The world tilted slightly, the monitors, the bright sterile walls, Lisa's shocked face, spinning together into something surreal. "You can't be serious," Lisa snapped, stepping between them. "She just saved that woman and her baby." The officer didn't flinch. "Ma'am, please step aside." Maya's gaze drifted to the woman on the table. Pale but alive, her eyes fluttering open in confusion, unaware of the circus erupting around her. And suddenly all the stares, all the whispers, all the quiet accusations Maya had endured in this place, they crystallized into this single crushing moment. This wasn't about protocols. This wasn't about medical judgment. This was about power, about fear, about the uncomfortable truth no one wanted to say out loud, that no matter how many degrees she earned, how many lives she saved, she was still just the black doctor who didn't belong. The officer's cuffs clicked shut around her wrists with cold finality. Maya didn't resist, didn't plead. She stood tall, back straight, her eyes locked on Andrew as they led her out of the OR. His expression barely flickered, but the satisfaction there was unmistakable. Behind them, the faint, rhythmic cry of the newborn echoed in the room, fragile but defiant. Just like her mother. Just like Maya. As they walked past the nurses' station, past the cluster of whispering colleagues, Maya's jaw clenched. They could drag her through the mud, they could doubt her, they could even arrest her, but they couldn't erase the truth. 2 lives had been saved today, and no amount of prejudice was ever going to change that. The heat outside the courthouse felt thicker than the air inside St. Andrews ever did. Protesters packed the narrow sidewalk like sardines in a can, their signs bobbing in the sticky summer haze. "Baby killer! No one's above the law! Lock her up!" Their shouts tangled with the blaring horns of passing cars and the faint buzz of news crews setting up along the curb. It wasn't a crowd. It was a mob, a living, breathing storm waiting to tear someone apart. And today, that someone was Dr. Maya Johnson. The police cruiser pulled up to the curb, its engine ticking quietly as the officers inside exchanged looks. One of them, a young woman with tired eyes, opened the door. "We'll escort you through, Dr. Johnson. Keep your head down." Maya didn't answer. Her hands still bore the faint red imprints from the handcuffs, and though they'd been removed hours ago, the phantom pressure lingered. She stepped out of the car, straightening her shoulders as camera shutters clicked like gunfire and the shouting swelled. Through the roar she caught glimpses of faces, angry, twisted, flushed with righteous fury, and mixed within them familiar ones, nurses from her floor, orderlies from St. Andrews, even an intern or two, watching, judging, some with smug satisfaction, others with quiet pity. Lisa waited by the courthouse steps, arms crossed, chin tilted defiantly despite the fear written plain across her face. Her sandy blonde hair was pulled into a messy bun, her eyes scanning the crowd like a bodyguard in scrubs. "You don't have to be here," Maya murmured as she approached. "Yeah," Lisa shot back, voice steady, "and pigs fly." Before Maya could respond, the courthouse doors swung open, swallowing them inside. The building's marble lobby gleamed under sterile fluorescent lights, the cool blast of air conditioning offering no real relief. Uniformed officers flanked the entrance. Reporters clustered near the metal detectors, their voices low, microphones poised like weapons. A bailiff approached. "They're ready for you." The courtroom itself was smaller than Maya expected, more intimate, more suffocating. Rows of hard wooden benches lined the back, already filled with onlookers whispering behind cupped hands. The judge, a stern woman with sharp features, perched behind the bench, her gavel resting within easy reach. But all of that blurred when Maya's eyes landed on him, Andrew Miller, sitting comfortably beside the prosecutor's table, posture relaxed, fingers drumming lightly against the polished wood as if this were all a casual staff meeting, not a hearing that could ruin a life. Their eyes met, and for a fraction of a second Maya saw it. The smug certainty, the quiet triumph curdling behind his polite expression. This wasn't about justice. It never was. The trial began with dull formalities. Charges read aloud, procedural jargon filling the air like fog. But the moment the prosecutor stood and turned toward the jury, the atmosphere shifted. "Dr. Maya Johnson," he began, pacing slowly, "chose to ignore state medical protocols. She acted recklessly, risking the life of an unborn child under the false justification of emergency care." He paused for effect, eyes sweeping the room. "In doing so, she violated not only our laws, but the very oath she claims to uphold." Murmurs rippled through the benches. Maya's jaw clenched so tight her molars ached. She could still hear the faint cry of the newborn girl from the OR, fragile but defiant. That sound haunted her more than any of their words. Andrew took the stand next, all polished charm and practiced sincerity. He spoke of policies, of procedures, of concerns for patient welfare. He never once mentioned the color of Maya's skin. He didn't need to. It dripped from every veiled insinuation, every passive-aggressive misjudgment woven into his testimony. Lisa squeezed Maya's arm under the defense table, her grip a silent reminder, "You're not alone." Then came the whispers. The nurses from the hallway, the administrative staff, carefully selected witnesses called to the stand, their words dancing around the truth like smoke. Some claimed Maya had rushed. Others suggested she'd exaggerate a woman's condition. None dared to say it outright, but the implication was loud as sirens. She wasn't qualified. She didn't belong. She got where she was because of a system designed to check boxes, not reward merit. Maya sat still, her expression unreadable, but inside, she was burning. Burning with the bitter, familiar sting of knowing no matter how much she bled for this profession, there would always be people waiting to drag her down. And just when the tide seemed ready to drown her completely, the courtroom doors creaked open. A murmur rippled through the room, heads turned, even the judge's eyes flicked up, curious. Maya followed their gaze, and her heart stalled. The mayor of the city, a tall, broad-shouldered man in an impeccable navy suit, strode in, his expression unreadable, a folder clutched tightly in his hand. But it wasn't his presence that stunned the room, it was who followed him. The woman from the OR. The same woman Maya had fought for, alone, against policy, against doubt, against fear. She walked carefully, one hand resting on her abdomen, the other gripping the mayor's arm for support. Her face was pale but determined, her eyes locked straight ahead. Whispers erupted around the courtroom as they approached the judge's bench. The prosecutor's confident posture faltered. Even Andrew's smug expression twitched, his eyes narrowing in confusion. The mayor handed over the folder. His voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Your Honor, I believe this will clarify a few things." The judge skimmed the contents, her brows lifting as realization dawned. Medical reports, ultrasounds, signed statements, undeniable evidence that Maya's intervention had not only been justified but necessary. Life-saving. The mayor's voice softened but carried the weight of every parent in the room. "That woman is my wife. The baby she carries is our child. And if Dr. Johnson hadn't acted exactly as she did, I would have buried them both." The silence in the courtroom fractured into stunned disbelief. Reporters scribbled frantically. Camera shutters clicked. Maya's pulse thundered in her ears as the weight on her chest lifted, replaced by something sharper. Hope. Andrew's eyes darkened, his lips pressing into a tight line as the prosecution crumbled. But for the first time in what felt like forever, Maya didn't look at him. Her eyes found the woman across the room, the one who had trusted her when no one else did. The woman who now stood tall, silent proof that doing the right thing was worth every scar, every whispered doubt, every moment of standing alone. The judge's gavel came down with a sharp final crack, signaling an end to the charade. For the first time in days, Maya allowed herself to breathe. The headlines came fast, loud, and relentless, plastered across every news channel, phone screen, and glowing billboard downtown. Brave doctor saves mother and child against all odds. Mayor's family saved by defiant black physician. Hero or threat, Dr. Maya Johnson breaks silence. For once, Maya's face wasn't just a passing blur in the background of hospital staff photos, or a name buried beneath degrees and quotas. No, this time, her name was everywhere. The press couldn't get enough of her. News vans clogged the street in front of St. Andrews. Camera crews set up outside her apartment building. Her inbox overflowed with interview requests, her phone buzzing with congratulations from strangers who suddenly wanted to believe in her, but none of it felt real. The hospital board meeting was short and coldly efficient, like ripping off a bandage. Andrew Miller, stripped of his smugness, sat stone-faced at the far end of the long, polished table as the committee read through a list of his failures. Dereliction of duty, obstruction of life-saving medical care, professional misconduct. His termination came swiftly, without the dramatic protest Maya half expected, maybe even he knew. There was no saving face now. Maya didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She watched him gather his belongings, stiff and bitter, the weight of public humiliation pressing down on his broad shoulders. But there was no satisfaction in it, not really, because deep down Maya knew. Men like him didn't disappear. They regrouped. They whispered in dark corners. They waited. Still, a small victory was better than none. 2 weeks later, she stood in her new office, a room she never thought she'd earn so soon. The brass plaque on the door read, "Dr. Maya Johnson, Chief of Obstetrics," the letters clean and sharp against the wood. Inside, the walls were bare, for now. The desk sleek and unblemished. The shelves waiting to be filled with textbooks, framed photos, and whatever small reminders of hope she could find. Lisa leaned casually in the doorway, a coffee cup balanced on her hip. "Feels weird seeing you in the big chair." Maya managed a faint smirk. "You doubted me?" "Never," Lisa shot back, stepping inside and dropping the coffee on the desk. "But I did doubt the hospital and half the people in it." Maya let the smile fade, her fingers trailing across the desk's smooth surface. "They didn't want me here, Lisa. Some of them still don't." Lisa shrugged. "They don't have to want you. You earned it. That's what scares them." The words landed heavier than Lisa probably intended, but Maya didn't correct her. Instead, she crossed the room to the window, pushing aside the blinds. Outside, the protest signs were gone for now. The crowds had thinned. But it wasn't over. It never really was. Her phone buzzed on the desk. Another notification. Another article, another viral video dissecting every second of her trial, her career, her life. She didn't bother checking. They were all the same. Praise wrapped in speculation, admiration laced with veiled doubt. Maya's gaze drifted to the small photo sitting beside the window. Her mother's smile beamed up at her from the worn edges of the frame, the same proud, quiet strength Maya carried into every operating room. Next to her was the only picture of her father that Maya had ever known. A faded black-and-white snapshot, his arms slung around her mom's shoulders. The glint of determination in his eyes unmistakable. They never lived to see this moment. But somehow, she felt them here anyway. Outside the office, the faint murmur of hospital life carried on. The rolling carts, the chatter of nurses, the subtle shuffle of new patients. And beneath it, the echoes of protest still lingered. Not in chants or signs, but in the cautious stares, the lingering hesitation in some colleagues' eyes, the subtle reminders that change wasn't welcome, but inevitable. A soft knock pulled her from her thoughts. Lisa poked her head back in. "Press wants another statement. You want me to tell them to shove it?" Maya chuckled under her breath, the first real laugh that didn't feel forced in weeks. "No. Let them wait." Lisa gave her a knowing smile, disappearing down the hall. Maya's fingers hovered over her phone one last time before shutting it off completely. No more headlines, no more noise, just silence. The kind you earned, the kind you protected. She sank into the leather chair behind her desk, the room falling quiet. But it wasn't empty. It was filled with every scar, every fight, every whispered insult she'd carried to get here. And somewhere deep beneath it all, the simple, stubborn truth remained. This wasn't about fame. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about proving them wrong anymore. It was about the mission, the same one that had carried her through sleepless nights, through bitter classrooms, through judgmental hallways, through an operating room when no one else had the guts to act, to save lives. She picked up the photo of her parents again, holding it steady as the soft hum of the hospital pulsed around her. "They can talk," Maya whispered under her breath. "They can doubt, they can hate, but they don't get to stop me." And with that, Dr. Maya Johnson, the black woman they underestimated, the doctor they tried to silence, the surgeon who refused to back down, got back to work. Because protests fade. Headlines change. But a life saved, that never goes away. Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.